All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a whole bunch of good crypto news stuff for you today. And unfortunately, we got to start off with launch of Baakt Bitcoin futures market may get postponed again. So the Intercontinental Exchange, the ICE, the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange, is likely to delay the launch of Baakt, its Bitcoin futures trading and custody platform, a second time. The company last set January 24th as the launch date. However, ICE has yet to receive the necessary approval from the CFTC, and at the pace the agency has been moving, it is unlikely that approvals will be secured in time to hit the target. So to be clear, that does not mean the CFTC won't ultimately approve the plan. A person familiar with the agency's inner workings said even a January 30th launch was still plausible, meaning a delay could be just a matter of days, although the way the government works, probably going to be longer than that. But we can hope for January 24th still. And at the very least, there will probably still be some hype of crypto prices in the uprunning before that. Specifically, the CFTC must grant an exemption for Baakt's plan to custody Bitcoin on behalf of its clients in its own warehouse. According to sources familiar with regulatory discussions of the plan, CFTC regulations normally require that customer funds be held by a bank, trust company, or futures commission merchant. And with Bitcoin, that's not really how it works. So the agency staff has finished reviewing Baakt's exemption request and passed it to the commission on Friday, one source said. Now the commissioners have to vote on whether to put out the proposal for the public comment. After the 30-day comment period, the commissioners would likely take at least a couple of days to read the comments and then vote on the proposal itself. Because of the way that other futures work, like CME and CBOE, is that they never really had Bitcoin to begin with. They're just trading paper Bitcoin and then giving people money when they are successful or not, or just taking people's money. So it's really just, you just end up getting money in the end, and you're giving money. You never get your Bitcoin at all. But this, with Baakt Futures, they actually have the Bitcoin. So they need to hold the Bitcoin on your behalf. And without a bank to do that, admittedly, yeah, that probably does require some additional paperwork. But here's the deal. Monday and Tuesday are now federal employee holidays, so unless these government officials decide to work on their days off, the earliest the commissioners are likely to vote on the public comment period and thereby start the 30-day clock is Wednesday, December 26th, the day after Christmas. And that would already push any final vote past Baakt's January 24th launch target, even without taking into account the time needed to read the public comments. And the possibility of U.S. government shutdown threatens to further the delays even more. And the exchange is likely to issue an updated launch target date, but not until next week, another source said. So I will bring you that updated target whenever they decide to announce that. Moving on to the next article, Brave browser donations controversy. It's not optional for creators. So this is kind of an interesting thing that's been going around lately. So popular British YouTuber Tom Scott takes pride in not asking for donations or crowdfunding on any platform. He recently found out that Brave had been using his name and image to collect donations on his behalf. As Scott had not requested or consented to this, he asked Brave to stop and refund any donations made. Brave replied that, "We'll see what we can do, but that refunds are impossible." Of course, refunds should indeed be impossible given the claimed anonymous nature of Brave tipping, but asking for donations for somebody without their consent is highly questionable, if not straight up fraudulent. It really doesn't help that the pop-ups which appear on Scott's YouTube channel and personal website have such misleading design. So you can see this is his YouTube page here. I think this guy does like engineering work or something like that, but either way, so on his YouTube page on the Brave browser, it says you can support this site by sending a tip. It's a way of thanking them for making great content. Content creators get paid for their tips during the first week of each calendar month. And if you like, you can schedule monthly tips to support this on a continuous basis, which is okay. This is all fine and good. Mind you, it's sort of just an automated process that they put these on creators' YouTubes on the Brave browser, and then it shows that you can tip these amounts, etc., make it monthly. So that in itself isn't really a bad thing if you were a creator that decided to simply like press a button that says, that will give you that, and it will say that on your YouTube. But without that, that's a little strange. And so I've never actually even bothered using the Brave browser. I know, crazy, right? But I've never bothered using it. And I kind of wonder if on my YouTube channel, it says the same thing as well, or maybe I have to just sort of put my the Brave, you know, on and do it myself. Who knows? But apparently this is just automatic. So I'm wondering if this is going to be on mine or a lot of other creators, and what happens to those donations if I never log into Brave browser and see anybody seeing those tips. And then that kind of makes people believe, hey, welcome, you can support this site by sending a tip. So if they go to my YouTube channel or another YouTube channel where it says this and you tip, but nobody actually, the creator of that YouTube channel doesn't actually use Brave browser, how do they claim those tips, and how do they even know that they got tips in the first place, which is really weird. So it's not that Brave's in-browser tipping concept is a bad one, but it seems as though every content creator on every platform has been co-opted into this service. Never mind giving creators like Tom the option to opt out. Requests for donations like this should require creators to specifically opt in, which I agree. Apparently, if you do try to tip Tom, the Brazer will tell you that he is unverified and may not claim the money. But if he doesn't, or until he does, tippers are just paying Brave, essentially. Obviously, Twitter being Twitter, many people took to debate as an opportunity to call Brave's business model something impolite. Unfazed, one of the Brave developers hit back, saying Tom's input was excellent and valued, and he suggested it will yield substantive changes in how platform represents unverified creators in the near future. So I would be an unverified creator, and likely this is on my channel. And since I'm unverified, you're essentially just giving money to something that may never actually be checked. So although Brave has fallen somewhere between naive and fraudulent, you know, depending on how you feel, on its implementation of tipping unverified users until now, it's nice to know that the company is listening to its critics, even internet trolls and posters. So it's an interesting concept. And at first glance, I think to myself, like, well, that's not too bad, like an automatic tipping feature of Brave, like, who, you know, who can argue with that? But at the same time, if you are one of the people that were like, hey, I don't need your tips, like I don't ask for tips or anything like that, this makes it look like you are asking for tips. It really does. Like, you don't know. I think the average person using Brave browser doesn't know that this, you know, wasn't actually made by Tom Scott. Like, hey, welcome, you can tip me. It really looks pretty professional. Look at his picture is right there, and tip this amount. You know, and it's bad for people like me and many, probably like the other, you know, millions of creators out there that have a YouTube page where it's just automatically going to say, hey, you can tip this person. But if they don't actually have Brave browser, they're never going to know that they received those tips in the first place. So terrible idea. Ron Paul is at it again. Abolish the Federal Reserve, as he says, for like the past, I don't know, like 20 years now, and embrace Bitcoin. So Paul, who has a long history of opposition to the Federal Reserve, including a 2009 book, End the Fed, said the Fed has no idea what rates should be. The Fed manipulates prices, distorts the economy, and makes decisions by looking at the data of a distorted economy. And this is the fourth time U.S. interest rates have gone up this year, sparking fears of a potential recession, and the blame for which should be laid squarely at the door of the Federal Reserve, according to Paul. It's likely that the next Fed-created recession will come sooner rather than later, he warned, and he also suggested that a major catastrophe could lead to the end of fiat currency. I doubt the end of fiat currency, but a recession nonetheless. And it's really interesting how banks operate in the first place. So if you guys have never really taken the time to look up the whole banking system, the, you know, fractional reserve banking system, I urge you to do that because it's quite intriguing. Now, let me just give it to you in a nutshell, I suppose, in a very, very simplified nutshell, I guess. So let's say there's no money in the world. There's none. There's zero. No money, right? And I open a bank. Like, I'm the first bank in the world. And so I create the first dollar bill. And so you're the first in line to get a loan, right? So you say, hey, I want a loan for $1. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you know, I have $1. And so you go, okay, I'll take that $1. And I'll say, whoa, 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 wait. Before you take this $1, you have to sign this paper and say that you're going to pay me back within 1 year, $1.10. And they go, okay, but the problem is, where does that extra 10 cents go? So if I created all the money in the world and there's 10 cents of interest on that dollar bill, Where does that 10 cent come from? Well, oh, I'm so glad you asked. I would actually have to make a new loan for that 10 cents. And then that person would owe another few pennies or another dollar or another 10 cents, right? So the amount of owed money, so basically the point I'm trying to get at is the amount of owed money in the world doesn't equal the amount of actual money in the world. So as a banker, I know this. I'm not stupid, and I know this. So I say to myself, okay, I'm making more. I'm basically asking for more money than I will ever get back. It doesn't exist. However, that's a very good thing for me because I can just continuously give out money and always continuously receive money. I'm fully aware that I will never receive all of the money that I gave out, but it doesn't matter because the money that I gave out was just cottony paper with ink on it. It didn't really cost me anything to make, or at least not much at all. And I'm always going to get money back. And the way the Federal Reserve works is that it's not federal, it's just some organization of central bankers that secretly made themselves in like 1912 or whatever, just before Christmas, when nobody could vote on it and and the president later totally regretted his decision on his deathbed. But that's okay. That's okay. We won't worry about that so much. So the Federal Reserve, like the United States government say, hey, we need $1 million extra in circulation. So I go, okay, I'm the Federal Reserve, so I'll give you $1 million in circulation, but you guys need to basically pay back all the banks, another $100,000. And America goes, well, that's not physically possible because you're making our money. So you would have to make another $100,000 and then give it to me, and then I would have to give you that. And then it'd be like, well, there's interest on that. And so the U.S. government is not stupid. They know that. And then the Federal Reserve is not stupid. They also know that. So that essentially is a good little symbiotic relationship. The United States can just continuously produce money, and it knows it always has to continuously owe money. And then the Federal Reserve knows that they can continuously produce money, but then continuously get money back. It's just the perfect little system. It's the most perfect system I've ever seen in the world, but completely and utterly broken in every way. If it just doesn't make any sense. So tax-free crypto can save us. Fortunately, Paul has a potential solution to navigate through the next recession: abolishing taxes on cryptocurrency. The only way to avoid crisis is to force Congress to end our monetary madness. The first steps are passing the the Fed bill, allowing people to use alternative currencies and exempting all transactions in precious metals and cryptocurrencies from capital gain taxes and other taxes. Yeah, that's awesome, but that'll probably never happen. They'll probably want to tax and, create interest on cryptocurrencies in some way, shape, or form in the future. Who knows how they're actually going to do that? And you might think, wait, isn't there like a limited supply of most cryptocurrencies? Like they'll never actually have more. Yeah, but they'll just trade them on paper, and you'll owe them, and it'll be nonsense. So Paul also appeared on Fox News discussing the artificial effect of the interest rate change on the market. He claims that a free market would not be affected by a 0.25% rate increase, but the fragility of the market and the anticipation built into it needs correcting, although nobody wants to tackle this politically. Finally, he says that although he criticizes the Fed, the markets are ultimately more powerful. So if you guys have ever seen Ron Paul, it's kind of an interesting character. He used to be the Texas state representative or senator, and he's always bashing the Federal Reserve and always grilling Ben Bernanke. He's retired now, but he used to grill Ben Bernanke and various other people, and it was just sauce to watch because it was real funny. Because Ben Bernanke was just like he just couldn't answer the question. Because if you actually answered half the questions that Ron Paul asked, it would just break the whole system down. Like the whole world would just shatter into pieces and drift off into space, like the way that we've set our monetary. Like you just can't answer the question, so of course you have to beat around the bush because answering the question would just shatter reality of the monetary system. Even though we know it, we just need them to admit it, kind of thing. So moving on, why traders say volume is the crypto price indicator of choice. So traders utilize a variety of indicators in order to add layers of confirmation to their bias. But what if you could choose only one indicator to use for the cryptocurrency market? What would it be and why? A poll recently conducted by CoinDesk says that it's volume. When trading crypto, what indicator can you not live without? So 30% said RSI. 23% said moving averages, 9% said other, which, I I don't know what other means. Price? Oh. And 38% said volume. So the poll elicited some great responses for alternatives such as Elliott wave theory, divergences, and the stochastic oscillator, which are useful in their own right but are highly dependent upon an individual's technical charting style and experience. We reached out to some prominent cryptocurrency traders to see what they thought was the one indicator they couldn't live without. And one says volume is hands down the most important aspect outside of price. Even for many other technical indicators, volume can serve as confirmation or rejection of a given hypothesis. Per definition, volume is meant to describe the total number of shares or contracts over a given period and is usually expressed in a bar chart. Professional traders and chartists use volume to great advantage, following the mantra that if the price falls along with the volume, it generally marks a point of exhaustion, signaling a reversal will happen soon. While conversely, a rise in price with a drop in total volume presents a stronger case for the bears as they drag prices for a lower bid, usually upon meeting a key resistance zone. One says, I think volume is a good indicator. Higher prices and low volume usually lead to a drop in price. So putting it to practice, you can see here that the lower price here with super high volume indicates that it may be going back up, and so on. Rising volume, but a fall in price hints at a bearish conditions ahead, rather, I apologize. And bulls have a chance for continuation if preceding candle matches previous total. So I will put this one in the link in the description if you guys want to study this a little bit more. Volume's always a good thing. I think my favorite thing for trading that I can't live without, I suppose if I had to put it on there, I would be in the other category. And I would put news, crypto news. Now, so that doesn't always happen, but crypto news is a very, very, very good trading tool. For example, in the whole Verge situation there, when they were hyping their partnership, which ended up being MindGeek, which was a terrible partnership and completely disappointing. It's more like the buy the news, sell the hype, or buy the hype, buy the rumor, sell the news. Oh my God, I could get it right one day. So because of that news, because of that hype, because of that partnership announcement, Verge went way up in price during that time, and then after the announcement, it started to go back down because, well, it sucked. And there's just tons of things like that. For example, in September 2017, when exchanges were banned in China, and you read on the news, like, that came out that day or hours later, it says, China bans exchanges. The Chinese government bans exchanges, and Bitcoin went from 4,900 close to 5,000 to like 3,000 or 3,200. So that's, as soon as you read that, you have to realize, uh-oh, this is bad news. There's going to be some kind of hit in prices, and of course that's not always the case because there just always isn't news on a day-to-day basis that may raise the price or lower the price of a cryptocurrency. So I would agree that probably volume is definitely a very good indicator, but I probably would have clicked other and put news in there if I could leave my own comment. Yeah, it says leave your own comment. And I'd put the news because the news often raises prices, lowers prices, depending on if it's, good or bad news. And it's a very good tool. So if you guys don't pay attention to crypto news a lot, I would get on that if you consider yourself any kind of day trader or even just starting to day trade or you're thinking about day trading. You need to learn all kinds of aspects. Of course, all of this is good. But I'd say one of the other things you need to do is maybe bookmark a ton of crypto news websites, subscribe to me, or a bunch of other YouTubers or something like that. Just get yourself in that news, Reddits, news sites, everything. And whenever you see a news article that is very bad about Bitcoin, it's probably time to sell. Whenever you see a very good news article about Bitcoin or about the coin that you're trading or investing in, likely that's going to drive the price up and drive investors to come and buy that because everybody knows it's just good news. It doesn't matter if it's actually, because like for example, the Verge partnership, nobody knew if it was a good partnership or not. It was just a hype partnership. So people were buying in. And then as soon as it's announced, that's when you sell. But I will put this one in the description below for you guys. that link. Now let's head on over to CoinMarketCap. Let's do a refresh. We're at 133 billion. We have been stagnant around the 4,000 mark, which is better than being stagnant around the 3,200 mark, question mark, I suppose. Everything is looking pretty good in terms of the greenery that we see. Always looking for that greenery. Ethereum had a really nice pump recently, 12% increase. It looks like Bitmain ran out of cash to continue pumping Bitcoin Cash. For a while there, it looked like Craig Wright and gang decided to try and pump Bitcoin SV. That was a massive failure and didn't quite have that. So almost, guys. Bitcoin Cash... good job at taking back your number 4 market cap and trying to make people think that you're a great coin. Awesome. But otherwise, nothing really to say. Bitcoin dominance is actually down a few percent, as that means that all the altcoins are rising a little bit disproportionately to Bitcoin, and you can kind of see that in the numbers here, even just at a quick look here at 1.48% for Bitcoin, and just everything else is kind of higher than that. Some are wildly higher, 10%, 6%, 7%, the Ethereum at 12.66%. But that's about all I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and like this video. Liking the video helps quite a bit. And I have some links in the description of the video. Just scroll on down. I have a Steam, I have a Twitter, and I have a Twitch where I live stream. So I probably will try to avoid live streaming on YouTube anymore, as it typically leads to people unsubscribing because they click on it thinking it's a new video and they're like, wait, what is this? Why are you playing a game? I thought this was a crypto channel. And I'm like, well, it is a crypto channel, but sometimes I like to live stream, and it's really confusing for people. So I will just stick to Twitch. So if you like my live streams or you want to check them out, where I talk about crypto, I play games, I interact with the community, we all have wild conversations. It's always a good time. Head on over there and give me a follow. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as usual, I will see you guys next time.